Most men are terrified of a silent room. They think they are being punished. They think the silence is a void that will swallow them whole. They feel the walls closing in, and they reach for their phones, for a crowd, for a distraction. Anything to escape the one person they cannot stand to be with, themselves. You have been told that being alone is a symptom of failure. You have been socialized to believe that isolation is a prison. But I am here to tell you that the silence is not a void, it is a forge. And the winter you are feeling in your soul is not the end of your life, it is the beginning of your power. In tactical psychology, solitude is the ultimate laboratory of the sovereign. It is the only place where the external noise dies down enough for the internal signal to be heard. While the masses are chasing the warmth of the herd, the sovereign man embraces the cold. He understands that the most dangerous man in the world is the one who needs nothing from anyone. He who is comfortable in the dark cannot be threatened with the loss of light. Today, we decode the winter of the soul. We are going to explore why every great architect of history was a solitary figure, how to transform your isolation into an unassailable citadel, and why the most terrifying thing to your enemies is your ability to exist without them. Welcome to the cold. Welcome to the citadel. Before we enter the winter, mark your coordinates. This channel is not a social club. It is a regiment for those who have realized that the crowd is a leash. If you are ready to stop fearing the silence and start mastering it, subscribe to Tactical Sage 365. Signal in the comments that you have chosen the path of the solitary. Let the weak cling to their distractions. We are building something that lasts. There is a fundamental difference between being lonely and being solitary. Loneliness is a state of lack. It is a craving for external validation that you cannot provide for yourself. It is a leak in your psychological hull. Solitude, however, is a state of abundance. It is the tactical choice to withdraw your energy from the market so that you can invest it entirely in your own calibration. Most of you feel lonely because you are still addicted to the social leash. You measure your worth by the frequency of your notifications. You measure your value by the number of people who claim to know you. But look at the people you are surrounding yourself with. Are they sharpening your blade, or are they just helping you dull your mind so the time passes faster? Most social interaction is nothing more than mutual sedation. You are all afraid of the truth, so you huddle together to keep the lie warm. The winter of the soul is the period when that warmth is stripped away. It is the moment when the phone stops ringing, the invitations dry up, and the people you thought were your tribe vanish into the fog. Do not mourn this. This is the universe performing a tactical scan of your life. It is removing the chaff. It is clearing the debris. When you are alone, you finally have the bandwidth to see the cracks in your armor. You cannot fix a machine while it is running at full speed. Time, sun 9/5s. You have to take it into the garage. You have to shut it down. Your isolation is that garage. It is the necessary shutdown required for the upgrade. Look at the hierarchy of nature. Pigeons flock together. Sheep huddle in a mass. Rats live in colonies. But the eagle flies alone. The tiger hunts in silence. The mountain stands solitary against the sky. Leadership is, by biological definition, an isolated position. If you are always one of the guys, you are not a leader, you are a member. To lead, to create, to think at a higher level, you must be willing to inhabit a space where others cannot follow. The higher you climb the mountain of self-mastery, the thinner the air becomes. Fewer people can breathe that air. Fewer people have the lungs for that altitude. If you are feeling alone in your journey of self-improvement, it is because you are leaving the valley of the mediocre behind. You cannot expect the people who are comfortable at the bottom to celebrate your climb to the top. Your progress is a direct indictment of their stagnation. They will call you antisocial. They will say you have changed. Good. If you haven't changed, you haven't grown. If you are still relatable to the version of you from 5 years ago, you have wasted 5 years of your life. Embrace the scarcity of your company. The sovereign man understands that his presence is a high-value asset. If he gives it away for free to anyone who asks, he devalues the currency. By choosing to be alone, you are setting the price of your time at premium. You are signaling that your work, your thoughts, and your internal peace are more important than the trivial gossip of the herd. The winter is not a punishment for your lack of social skills. It is the reward for your rising standards. How do you survive the winter? You don't just survive it, you utilize it. You build an internal citadel. Most men, when left alone, let their minds rot. They fall into the traps of pornography, junk food, and mindless scrolling. They use the silence to amplify their insecurities. They turn their solitude into a swamp. You will turn yours into a fortress. The first protocol of the winter is ritual. When no one is watching, that is when your character is truly forged. You must wake up at the same time. You must train your body with more intensity than when you were in a group. You must study with more focus. Without the external structure of society, you must create an internal structure of iron. If you can maintain discipline when you are entirely alone, you have achieved the highest form of power. You have become self-generating. The second protocol is the Great Audit. Use this time to look at your past failures without the fog of ego. When you are alone, you have no one to blame. You cannot point to a distracting friend or a nagging partner. It is just you and the truth. Map out your weaknesses, decipher your triggers, calibrate your mission. This is the time for deep strategy. While the others are playing in the snow, you are in the basement of your mind, redrawing the blueprints for your life. The winter is the only time when the earth is truly quiet enough for the roots to grow deep. If you do not grow deep in the winter, you will be uprooted in the spring. Pause. Can you feel the weight of the silence right now? Most of you are itching to check a notification. You are feeling the urge to escape this message. because it's getting too close to the truth. Stay. If you are still here, it means the iron in you is stronger than the fear. Comment the word unshakable below. Let it be a marker in the snow. Seal your presence in the citadel. We are moving to the final calibration. The greatest weapon you can possess is the ability to walk away and be perfectly fine. Most people are in hostage relationships. They are hostages to their jobs, their partners, and their social circles because they are terrified of being alone. Because they fear the winter, they accept the crumbs of the herd. They tolerate disrespect. They swallow their pride. They compromise their values. All for the sake of belonging. A man who has mastered solitude can never be a hostage. You cannot threaten a man with isolation if he finds his greatest strength in it. You cannot manipulate a man who needs nothing from your approval. When you embrace the winter of the soul, you are cutting the strings of manipulation. You are telling the world, I am enough. My company is enough. My mission is enough. This non-dependency is what creates true gravity. Paradoxically, the more you are comfortable being alone, the more people want to be around you. Why? Because you are a source of stability. You aren't leaking neediness. You aren't seeking to consume their energy to fill your own void. You are a mountain, and everyone wants to sit in the shadow of a mountain. But the mountain doesn't care if they are there or not. The mountain is the mountain. This is the Stoic calm. This is the tactical advantage of the solitary. In the ancient arts, there is the concept of the hermetic seal. It is a container that is airtight, so that the internal pressure can rise until a transformation occurs. Your solitude is that seal. When you are alone, the pressure of your own existence begins to cook off the impurities. You begin to realize that 90% of what you thought was you was actually just a collection of opinions and habits you picked up from others. The winter strips you down to your skeletal structure. It shows you what is real and what is theater. This is where true wisdom is born. Wisdom is not found in a textbook or a crowded seminar. Wisdom is what remains when you have sat in a dark room long enough to stop lying to yourself. It is the quiet voice of the sovereign rising above the chatter of the ego. When you emerge from your winter, you will possess a clarity that others will find terrifying. You will see through their games. You will see through their lies. You will see the world for what it is, not what they want you to believe it is. You have paid for this clarity with the currency of loneliness. And it is the most profitable trade you will ever make. Stop trying to fix your loneliness. Stop trying to cure it with shallow hookups or meaningless hangouts. Sit in it. Let the cold sink in. Let it bite. Feel the rawness of your own company. There is a primal strength that comes from realizing that you do not need anyone else to be whole. You are a complete ecosystem. You are a self-contained unit of power. The winter is not forever. Spring always comes. But the man who emerges in the spring is determined by the man who sat in the winter? Will you emerge as a beggar, desperate for the sun? Or will you emerge as a king who has learned how to generate his own heat? The sovereign chooses the latter. He doesn't wait for the seasons to change. He masters the climate of his own soul. If you are alone right now, do not look for an exit. Look for a deeper room. Go further in. The gold you are looking for is buried under the ice of your own discomfort. We are reaching the end of the briefing. Look at the world around you. It is louder than ever. It is more connected than ever. And yet, it has never been more shallow. People are terrified of being off-grid. They are terrified of being unfollowed. They have become ghosts of other people's expectations. You are going to be different. You are going to value your solitude more than your social status. You are going to build a life that is so rich on the inside that you don't need a spectator to make it feel real. You are going to cultivate a mind that is its own best friend, its own mentor, and its own commander. When you walk into a room, you will not be looking for someone to fill your void. You will be a presence that fills the room. This is the power of the winter of the soul. It turns a man of clay into a man of stone. The silence is not your enemy. The silence is your counsel. The darkness is not your grave. The darkness is your womb. Embrace the winter. Embrace the cold. In the depth of your isolation, you will find the one person who has the power to change everything. You. The sovereign is solitary. The solitary is sovereign. The briefing is concluded. Now comes the execution. Tonight, do not reach for your phone. Do not turn on the background noise. Sit in the silence for 30 minutes. Just you and your thoughts. Watch the urge to escape and do not move. Feel the winter. Share this protocol with one man who is currently lost in the storm. Subscribe to Tactical Sage 365. We do not provide comfort, we provide the iron. Go forth in strength. The citadel is watching. We are out.